Hey everybody, day number 15, halfway done after this video. That's great news. Today I'd like to talk about wisdom and how wisdom is knowing how little we know. As said supposedly by Socrates in sometime in the BCEs, whatever. What he was saying is that wisdom increases when you know the amount of your own ignorance. What he's basically saying is nobody really knows anything compared to what there is to know. There's so much out there to know. And there's so much out there that we do not know. So, this whole idea really gets your mind more expanded, because if you realize that you don't know even 1% of what there's out there is to know, it puts you in a state of wanting to know, learn and know more. I mean, there's always going to be something else that we need to figure out or whatever. But a lot of the knowledge we do not know is hidden from us through certain sources, but what are you going to do about that except do your best to expose it? So I would always say that it's sort of like the percentage I gave in a previous video about how we can only see a fraction of 0.05%, 0.005% of what's out there. It's the same with knowledge. We can usually only see the tip of the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg when it comes to any subject, be it. I'm going to go into something a little bit dark today because it's something that needs to be talked about. I know everybody going along with this Me Too movement and whatnot, and Harvey Weinstein. This is a great example of wisdom is knowing how little we know. What most people do not know about Hollywood and sexual abuse is that it is a giant breeding ground for pedophiles and children being abused relentlessly by some of the major players there, and the major players in politics, and the major players in a lot of elite areas, bankers and whatnot. And they're all blackmailed after they do things like this. An Australian Satanist said, victims are carefully chosen and will be told to the people that are going to abuse them that that'll be our little secret. But then later they'll say, you don't do what we say, we'll tell everyone what you did and you'll go to jail. And it's really disgusting and horrific what it does to a child. But I have it on good authority. A Rothschild bloodline who left the family literally said, this is a direct quote, incest is a part of life in their circle. Because what it does is it scrambles the brain to an extent when you abuse a child in such a way. And they have these rituals they have, and they sacrifice young virgins to the gods. They're still doing it. They're just doing it in secret because it's no longer acceptable. But once you go down this road of the pedophilia and the try to uncover some of that stuff, it gets pretty spooky. But it is happening. There's no way you can deny it. There is someone like Corey Feldman is speaking out against the pedophilia in Hollywood. Him and his friend Corey Haim were both sexually abused by the Hollywood whatevers. I don't know, the elites, you want to call them. I wouldn't call them elites because they're fucking scumbags, fucking possessed entities who take pleasure in children's suffering. And it is really a sick cesspit, Hollywood. And maybe that's one of the reasons I don't watch that many movies, and if only a few TV shows, because I know a lot of the people involved in these things are. It's just one of the reasons, but it's just the world is absolutely insane when you really look at some of the things that go on, especially things that go on in secret. And that's one of the things where people said they'd never do that. And I'm thinking, no, 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 no. You'd never do that. They do it and they'd enjoy it because they have no empathy. They're psychopaths. The world is run by psychopaths. And people don't want to face that fact. People just want to focus on Trump, narcissist, who has little to no power in of himself. He's told what to do by those who got him in there. We got you in here, now you're going to do what we say. Otherwise, you get the bullet, man. Here's JFK's assassination from another angle. Oh, it's off the grassy knoll. All right, I'll do whatever you say. Just don't shoot me. You know, it's just, I kind of feel bad for the President of the United States because they're not really, because they're usually pretty corrupt. But at the same time, the real genuine ones that get in, like a Jimmy Carter, even Barack Obama, before he got in, he really did want to do some good things. He did do a few good things, but he did a lot of bad things, like bombing Libya, bombing Syria. I mean, because he had to, or they would have killed. But I mean, if he was a man of genuine honesty and genuine whatever, he would have done the right thing, regardless of the consequences of him, and said, no, I will not bomb Syria. I will not bomb Libya. I will not lie and say we killed Osama bin Laden for the second time when he was already dead. But the whole idea that the president is the leader, the face of the world and all that, it's not true. Most people will believe that it's true because that's the way that they are portrayed. Right now, we have a president who communicates with us through Twitter. And I swear to God, I thought they were going to cut that off when he got elected. But he's still, and people take it as fact. Are you joking? Oh, he's going to do this, he's do that. He said it on fucking Twitter. He didn't say it as an executive order. Even those are unconstitutional executive orders. I don't know if they're unconstitutional, but they should be. because there's no vote. They just get to do whatever they want. It's like a dictator. And it's totally messed up. And most people don't know that the president is run by people who you probably will never see. Some of them don't even have names. That's how fucking in the shadows they are. And some of their organizations don't even have names. It's so that they can't be traced. And the agenda for the world is just look at China and its social crediting system, where if you do something the government doesn't like, they cut off your money, they cut off everything. You can't do anything, and you have to become a criminal just to survive. Then you go to jail. And you go to the smart jail or whatever the fuck they have there. And that's the kind of system they want for the whole world. Social crediting, which is going, and that's either going to be through the microchip or through the nanotechnology that falls from the sky through chemtrails. So, if you want to talk about chemtrails, by the way, I recommend looking at Max Egan. He gives talks about chemtrails and everything else that's going on in the world. He just gave a great video. He does a radio show every week, and he adds artwork to it from some artists that he likes, and it works really well. The visuals and him talking. The last one he did was really dark sarcasm, and it was really hilarious. He was talking about all the bad things, but he's putting a positive spin on it. All the things that are going on there, the smart grid and 5G, and the birds are going to die. Oh, we don't really need birds. We can't put them in the workforce. It was so funny, and they squawk and they make noise and they sing. We don't want bird songs. You can't buy them on iTunes. It was so funny. I was laughing so hard. But the previous week he had talked about how they were hiding history. I think I made a video about that too. And it was a brilliant video, but a lot of people were infighting again because he was attacking almost every single thing that people believed. Because he's saying we don't really know this. We can pretty much prove anything you want through any certain information and people. And I was thinking to myself, wow, that is so true. And I gave him a very positive comment. I was like, wow, Max, this is really deep and really amazing what you're saying. And he gave me a response. He was like, thanks, mate. I'm glad, at least some people are getting what I'm saying. And this week he topped himself with a really sarcastic kind of making all like the bad things that are happening and that will be coming if we don't stop them. He's making them sound really good as a sarcastic. And everybody's government wants you safe. The government loves you, and all this funny, hilarious stuff. Really great. It's called Everything is Awesome. He puts it's just great. I put it on my Facebook page if you want to check it out. If you're friends with me on Facebook, man, it really had me cracking up. And he really is a great speaker. I'd say that he's on par with one of my other favorite conspiracy speakers, David Icke, who puts together. He used to put together 10-hour presentations, but he doesn't do those anymore because he wants to get more people into his ideas. So now he's doing about 4-hour evening talks, which is for people who are just curious. And he's coming to America next year, so if he comes around my area, I'm going to go see him too. And if you really listen to what he has to say, He's always talking about how there's always more to know. There's always more to find out, which is why he's lasted 30, 20, 30 some odd years. Well, 1990 to now, 28, 29 years doing this research. And now people are starting to catch on. They're not seeing him as the crazy lunatic that they thought he was back in the 1990s. And most people will dismiss people like that out of hand. But I actually took the time and listened to what he had to say. I bought a few of his books. I watched a bunch of his talks. This was a few years ago and up until today. And he has amazing things to say that most people don't want to know. They don't want to know these things. They don't want to hear them. And he's saying that they're not negative because they're true. Knowledge is never negative. There might be unpleasant, but knowledge is never negative. It's always good to know what's going on. It's kind of like with veganism. Most people don't want to know what's happening in factory farms. They don't want to know. It's willful ignorance. And they just say, oh, it tastes good. I like it. I like um, whatever, hamburgers or hot dogs or whatever the hell they eat. I kind of forgot now but it's just, they don't care. They don't care about the dairy industry, how it's connected to the veal industry. And baby calves are killed, suffocated, killed with carbon monoxide, thrown into a fucking lake where they can't get out, a concrete lake. They can't climb back up the steep slopes. They don't care about that. Oh, they care about, oh, it's so tender. Don't make me have to change because I know something. And that's the other side of wisdom, is knowing how little we know. Is most people don't want wisdom. They don't want to know more. They want to stay in the dark because they say ignorance is bliss, but it's only bliss for a while until somebody knocks on your door and asks for your papers or whatever. And when people who remain in ignorance get confronted with something outside their narrow band of thinking, it causes something called cognitive dissonance, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. It's when you have a very rigid belief system and something contradicts it, and your brain just can't figure out a way to deal with it. It's like a Christian seeing a ghost or a psychic experience um, or having an astral projection. It's like I don't know, someone who's really into Stone Age science, noticing that particles can communicate billions of miles apart or whatever. And why is that? Because we're all the same consciousness and everything. There is no distance, there's no time, there is no space. We're all one consciousness. And so this reality is an illusion, which quantum physics shows. How atoms are mostly, they're 99.559% empty. If you go into the center of an atom and keep going down, keep going down, keep going down to quarks and whatever the hell makes those up, and then whatever the hell makes you go all the way into it, get to the point where it's just energy. And like I said before, if you took the actual matter in every atom and every human being on the planet It would fit in a teacup, possibly something smaller. That is how little actual matter. But most people won't research this stuff. Most people won't go into it because everyone is in their own little bubbles. And that's a barrier to wisdom. It's a barrier to having an open mind about things. There's always a way to keep people like to know things for sure. But the reality is we'll never know everything for sure. We'll never know anything 100% for sure. Unless, of course, even if we do experience it. I like the analogy of subjectivity and objectivity, and how we'll never know if we truly live in an objective or subjective universe. But, that's probably a topic for another day about that. Because I tend to believe that the world is a dream, but there could be an objective aspect to it, because we're only aware of what we perceive. So, and our beliefs create our perceptions. So we're all basically self-fulfilling prophecies in a way. And going too much on either side will create an unbalanced life to an extent. So we all should remain open to other possibilities at all times. Have an open mind, but not a naive mind, because if you close yourself off, you will limit your experiences dramatically. Anyone with a closed belief system, I know how it is, I know how the world works. No, you don't. You don't know. You're born into this world in utter confusion. Don't know who we are, where we are, why we're here. And then most people never even ask those questions. Never mind find the satisfactory answers to them. So what I suggest is never stop learning, never stop growing, never stop being curious about your reality and what's going on in it. Because there's always more to know. And I guess tomorrow I will talk about subjective and objective realities. I'll write it down, so that way we have something else to talk about that's interesting to me. Have a great day. I passed the 20-minute mark again. That's okay. These videos are getting easier and easier to make. I'll see you tomorrow.